What's up, everybody? It's Clark here for the BOS Sports Podcast. Absolutely reeling after the Atlanta Hawks are now 1 for 9 their last 10 games, losing a very tight, closely contested battle tonight to the San Antonio Spurs, 126-125. Atlanta Hawks, they tied it up there several times in the final couple of minutes, but were just absolutely denied by Victor Wembanyama and De'Aaron Fox. An exciting new pairing in the NBA. A lot of potential elite guard and center combination there between De'Aaron Fox and Victor Wembanyama. That trade just happened a few days ago. We're going to get into that. Another trade news here. NBA deadline coming up tomorrow, 3 p.m., February 6th, 3 p.m. Eastern. We'll have a special episode tomorrow as well. Right now, the exciting big news in the NBA tonight, Jimmy Butler is now on the Golden State Warriors. The big piece going back to the Miami Heat, of course, is Andrew Wiggins. You can see down there in the ticker. So back to this game, De'Aaron Fox in his debut for San Antonio Spurs. He had a monstrous double-double with 24 points, 13 rebounds, 11 for 22, shooting from field, 50%. He only had one turnover. Pretty nice debut for De'Aaron Fox there with the San Antonio Spurs. They have a lot to be excited about. Don't quite think they're a contender yet. Think they're probably maybe this upcoming draft away. Get Nasa Newell type of forward there in the front court in the mix. They could be very scary next year, as we saw in this game. The Atlanta Hawks, we saw Bogdan Bogdanovic and Clint Capella both out for the Atlanta Hawks this game as trade speculation and trade rumors around the two continue to swirl. And with tonight's Golden State Warriors trade, going to have to open back up that can of worms. As I previously suggested, trading Clint Capella to the Warriors, they need help there in the front court. They have draft capital coming up. They own their first round 2025 draft pick. They own a couple of 2025 seconds. I did not have a chance to read that whole terminology there of the one with the Boston. They have a pick swap going in there with Boston. So they have 2 second-round draft picks there. Go open all those trade possibilities and more diving in later this episode. This is BOS Sports Podcast episode 36. So first tonight, we're going to cover tonight's devastating loss to the San Antonio Spurs and where the Hawks can potentially go from here. Where they need to go from here is make a move to acquire an all-star caliber player. And we'll explore a few possibilities. Brandon Ingram seems like potentially the most likely. Depending on what's given up from him, I'd be very excited about that trade. Brandon Ingram is a stalwart player, stalwart scorer. Would not quite fix the front court problems we have as far as in rotation. We need someone with Onyeka. Larry Nance does a pretty good job, but we'll break all that down more coming up here. Back to tonight's game. For the Spurs, they had 7 Spurs in double digits. That's unfortunately been a common theme with Jalen Johnson since he's been out. We've been having trouble defending teams, and we've been seeing multiple guys getting double digits, including the Spurs team, as they had Devin Vassell with a nice 20-point game, 4 steals, as turnovers were a huge story in this game. The Hawks, of course, this podcast, we look at 3 key stats, whether or not a basketball team wins the game. That's field goal percentage, rebounding, turnovers. And Hawks, they won 2 out of those. And turnovers, unfortunately, did them and Trae Young, unfortunately, was a big part of that tonight with 9 of them. Although he did not have a single turnover there in the fourth quarter, as he was absolutely the major reason why the Hawks had a chance to win this game in the fourth quarter was his brilliant play there in the final minutes. He's been absolutely clutch this season. He did again tonight. Fortunately, the Hawks, they fell just short. So Victor Wembanyama, the other pair, that potentially dynamic elite duo brewing there down San Antonio. 24 points tonight, 8 for 15 shooting from field. Good for 53.3%. He's had 2 3-pointers, 2 for 5 from field, 40% from beyond the arc tonight for Victor Wembanyama. 12 rebounds as well, as he had a nice double-double. Jeremy Shoshine, he had 15 points. Stephon Castle, he had 11 points. Harrison Barnes, 13 points, 6 rebounds. they had aforementioned 7 Spurs in double digits compared to the Atlanta Hawks. We only had 4 players in double digits, and that was capped by the game high. Trae Young, he had 32 points, 12 assists, another 30-point double-double for Trae Young. I believe he's up to 86, 87 now. He just passed Russell Westbrook the other day. So he had 10 for 21 shooting from field in tonight's game. 47.6% from the field for Trae Young in tonight's match. 3 for 11 from three-point land, 27.3%. 9 for 11 free throws, 81.8%. As we always know, Trae takes care of his business there from the free throw line. Aforementioned, he had the 9 turnovers, which all happened in the first 3 quarters. Got to clean things up there. And the turnover game. The coaches need to make sure Trae knows about these turnovers. Don't let these things go by. You can't hear, of course, in the broadcast or really from the seats from where I've been seeing so far this season exactly what they say in the coaches' huddle. So can't really speculate too much there. Likely they say something about the turnovers and try to take care of those better. So the first quarter. Back to the Hawks players. Dyson Daniels, he had another nice game tonight. 19 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, 8 for 14 shooting from field. Onyeka Okongwu, he had a monster double-double as well. 12 rebounds, 30 points. Career high for Onyeka Okongwu tonight. 13 for 16 shooting from field, 81.3%. 3 for 5 shooting from the 5-point arc. I mistyped that on my notes. It's a 3-point shot. There's no 5-point shot in basketball. Maybe they'll make one from beyond half court one day, and they'll see in 20 years people will write about the game got ruined by the 5-point shot. People talk about 3-point shot. Now, so DeAndre Hunter tonight's game, he had a double-double as well, getting in on that double-double party. 22 points, 10 rebounds, 2 steals, 5 assists, 5 for 18 shooting from field, 53.3%, 6 for 11 shooting from three-point arc. As for this Atlanta Hawks team, Onyeka Okongwu, especially in the second half, he made hay versus Victor Wembanyama. They're in the box-out game, in the rebounding game, especially some on the offensive glass. But when you play Victor Wembanyama, and with this Hawks current roster, it becomes sort of a team effort in rebounding the basketball. It's characterized, and DeAndre Hunter, he was prepared for that and got those 10 rebounds tonight. So a lot of things, they went right for the Hawks. It was the turnovers. The Hawks had 20 turnovers. The Spurs had 10 turnovers. The Hawks lost by 1 point. So math there, it checks out. So the first quarter, it starts with a Devin Vassell dunk. The first 2 of his 20 points there. At the 11-minute, 18-second mark. DeAndre Hunter, he comes back, has a 3-point shot, as he would have 6 points there in that first quarter and 6 points there in the first half. He'd cool off a little bit in the second quarter. As DeAndre Hunter, he would have 16 points there in the second half. Onyeka Okongwu, he had a 3-point shot. How many threes? Onyeka had 3 3-pointers today. 3 for 5 shooting from beyond the arc. Just a brilliant game from Onyeka Okongwu tonight. Coming back from that toe sprain from last year and having to deal with it, manage it early on this year. Worried a little bit, potentially, if that would be a lingering injury, such as was discussed with Aaron Judge, who had a toe sprain as well. And it was speculated that Aaron Judge could be dealing with that for months to years. We did not get quite the same speculation of report with Onyeka Okongwu, as the injuries seem to be kept a little bit closer to the chest, or less speculation on. So it's great to see Onyeka healthy and finding his game here with the career high, going 3 for 5 from beyond the arc. That's just huge for the Atlanta Hawks. They like to play a 5-out and 4-out motion offense. Gives them a lot more flexibility with Onyeka Okongwu being able to hit that 3-point shot. So Dyson Daniels, he had a floater too, giving the Hawks a quick lead, as well as a 3-pointer there at the 8-minute, 25-second mark. giving the Hawks a 11 to 10 lead there early. The Hawks had a few leads in this game. They would be trailing by as much as 20 points at some points, but the Hawks came back then and made a game of it. They fell just short, and the last time they had a lead would be there in the first quarter after DeAndre Hunter hit a 3-point at the 8-minute, 5-second mark, his 6-point and final point there in the first half. Ooh, not optimal, of course. He missed a few shots second quarter. He absolutely caught fire there in that second half. Major reason why the Hawks were in that game, but he got a little bit chilly there from there on, as he only had 6 points in the first half, and that would be his final points there at the 8-minute mark of the first quarter. Hawks lead 14-12. And then about half a minute later, De'Aaron Fox, with 3 of his 24 points, he had a 3-pointer there at the 7-minute, 34-second mark of the first quarter, and that would start a Spurs run where the Hawks would not see the lead again the rest of the game. It was the start of a 23-11 run to end the first quarter, capped by Devin Vassell having 9 points there for the Spurs, 9 of his 20 points there in the first quarter for the Spurs. De'Aaron Fox, he had 6 points, 6 of his 24 points there in the first quarter. As well, he's had 3 of his 13 assists there in the first quarter. With De'Aaron Fox having that monstrous 24-point, 13 assist double-double today. So the Hawks, they would be down by double digits at the end of the first quarter, 35-25. Aforementioned defense, the struggle for the Atlanta Hawks without Jalen Johnson. That continued to be the case in the first quarter. At that point, the Spurs were winning every margin in that game. They were out shooting the Hawks 54.2%, the Hawks 45.5%. They were 6 for 12 from beyond the arc, compared to the Hawks 5 for 12. They're winning the rebounding margin 13-11, and of course, turnover margin. They had 1 turnover compared to the Hawks 5. Been tough for Hawks fans. So I'm going to pause really quick for some station identification. This is the BOS Sports Podcast. Some more big trade news of today. Kyle Kuzma, he was traded to Milwaukee Bucks. We'll see how that works out for Chris Middleton. Kyle Kuzma has been more available. Chris Middleton, we of course seen play at higher levels in his career, but over the last year he's been injured quite often for the Bucks and not available. Has been struggling since coming back from injury there in December. So the Bucks, they swap him for Kyle Kuzma. And interesting update, the update that just came in right now, the New York Knicks are trading Jericho Sims, their center, for Delon Wright. Delon Wright is going to the Knicks. I'm going to pause really quick for more station identification here before we continue on with Hawks versus Spurs post-game coverage here. BOS Sports Podcast, episode 36. So the second quarter started off with, you guess it, an Atlanta Hawks turnover. 1 of the 20. They're around the 11-minute, 38-second mark. Keldon Johnson, he got a 3-pointer on the other end for the Spurs. 38-25 Spurs. The interesting lineup there for Atlanta Hawks to start the second quarter. We had Don Barlow, Larry Nance Jr., Garrison Matthews, Vee Krejci, and Trae Young there. Very interesting lineup, of course, with Bogdanovich out. see Garrison Matthews a bit more. Tom Barlow in there. Larry Nance in there. So for the Spurs, Chris Paul at the 10-minute, 22-second mark, he had a jumper over Tom Barlow in the lane, putting the Spurs up by 15, 40-25. 9-minute, 59-second mark, Larry Nance Jr., he took a charge on Victor Wembanyama. Nice defense there by Larry Nance Jr. 9-minute, 46-second mark, Trae Young, he got to the line, made both free throws, 40-27, putting the Hawks within 13 points there. 8-minute, 33-second mark, De'Aaron Fox had a fast break dunk, putting the Spurs back up by 15. Trae Young and Harrison Barnes, they would trade 3-point shots there around the 6-minute mark, with Trae hitting his at the 6-minute 25 and Harrison Barnes hitting his at the 6-minute 9-second mark off of De'Aaron Fox's 5th assist. Trae Young at the 5-minute 55-second mark, he went to the free throw line, made 1 of 2. The Spurs, they still led by 15 at that point, 51-36. They're at the 5-minute 55-second mark of the second quarter. De'Aaron Fox, he answered on the other end. His 12th point in the game at that point. 53-36 Spurs. Onyeka on the other end, he had a nice alley-oop layup for the Hawks. 53-38 Spurs. Onyeka Okongwu, as he is absolutely balling out today. 4-minute, 50-second mark. He had a put-back dunk off Trae Young. Missed 3. Absolute highlight dunk. I commented on social media, shades of Moses Malone. It looked like Onyeka Okongwu was looking to attack that rim, looking to break the basket there on that put-back dunk there at the 4-minute, 50-second mark of the second quarter. Shades of Moses Malone indeed. So Dyson Daniel, seconds later, Onyeka got another dunk there at the 4-minute, 34-second mark off of Trae's 4th assist. Spurs then called a timeout as the Hawks were climbing back a little bit there in the second quarter. But they'd hold them off, as by the end of the first half, the Spurs were up by 18, 72-54. The Hawks, they just had more turnovers there in the last couple minutes there, the first quarter, including one that resulted in Zachary Riche getting absolutely posterized by Jeremy Sochan. It was just deflating. The Hawks, the Hawks already had 12 turnovers there in that first half. It was just sloppy basketball. It looked like there's a little bit lacking of leadership for the Atlanta Hawks. They just playing absolutely sloppy basketball, and it seemed like nothing was going on, nothing was being done. If there was more initiative there by the coaches, Trae Young, of course, he was having those turnovers, woes himself. And that's where you kind of miss Jalen Johnson as well. He's absolutely a vocal leader there on the floor, becoming all-star caliber player and appear to Trae Young in as much as anyone could, and this with Trae being a perennial all-star. And so it just really hurts him, Jalen Johnson out there. As you know, if the Hawks are struggling, if the Hawks are playing sloppy basketball, Jalen Johnson's out there setting the tone and being a very vocal leader on the floor there for the Hawks to shape up. So De'Aaron Fox, he already had 18 of his 24 points there in the first half, 6 assists, 6 of his 12 or 13 assists. He had 13 assists. De'Aaron Fox had 6 of those in the first half. 8 for 12 shooting from field in the first half. So he cooled off a little bit in the second half. And De'Aaron Fox at that point had 0 turnovers. I believe the only one he committed all game happened in the fourth quarter. Spurs, they gave the Hawks a few opportunities there, playing a bit sloppy basketball in the final quarter as well themselves. Victor Wembanyama in the first half had 8 points, 5 rebounds. Devin Vassell, he had 11 of his 22 rebounds at that point. 3 of his 4 assists are in that first half, as he was a big problem for the Hawks here on offense and a key contributor to the Hawks turnovers, having 4 of the 20. He had 20% of the Hawks turnovers tonight. So Victor Onyeka Okongwu, he had 16 of his 30 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds. To that point, he was struggling a little bit in the box-out game. He really turned around there in the second half, especially in the offensive glass, making hay versus Victor Wembanyama, Julian Champagny, and others for the Spurs front court. Dyson Daniels, he had 12 points the first half. Nice first half for Dyson Daniels. The Spurs, they were out shooting the Hawks there in that first half. 55.4%, the Hawks 45.5%. As the Hawks, they started to heat up there that second half a bit. The Hawks were winning the rebounding margin at that point, as they would win the final rebounding margin. 55 to 47, final rebounding margin of the game. At the half, it was 27 to 22 in the Hawks' favor. But aforementioned, the Hawks had 12 first half turnovers compared to the Spurs 4. That does not work. Bogey and Clint out due to personal reasons. Clint was listed with back spasms previously, and they officially changed it prior to today's game, out for personal reasons. So they're likely on the trading block, speculated by all the beat writers. So, and some fans, they've put out there the odd speculation that maybe the Bogey needed a mental break. Well, that's probably what they're going to say if they're not traded. So, the third quarter opens up with De'Aaron Fox layup. 34 8-second mark as the Spurs, they take that 20-point lead. I believe that'd be the largest lead of the game. Around the 11-minute, 30-second mark, DeAndre Hunter, he answers right back with a 3-point shot. 74 to 57, the Spurs lead. Before we dive and finish this thrilling finish here, where Atlanta Hawks came back and nearly pulled off the come-from-behind victory, we have a pause for some station identification. This is the BOS Sports Podcast. So back to this third quarter. Onyeka Okongwu, he had a 3-point shot. One of his 3 of the day. They're at 10-minute, 24-second mark. Putting the Hawks deficit to 15 points as Spurs led 77 to 62 at that point. DeAndre Hunter at the 10-minute, 1-second mark. He had a 3-point shot. 79 to 65 Spurs. The 9-minute, 40-second mark. Victor Wembanyama, he hit a fadeaway post shot there along the baseline. Shades of Dirk Nowitzki there. Wemby absolutely hit the Nowitzki shot there. And the 9-minute, 46-second mark, third quarter. That's a highlight to go back and look at for any fans there, Dirk Nowitzki. And that was off of De'Aaron Fox's 8th assist. Spurs went back up by 16, 81 to 65. Onyeka Okongwu, he answered on the other end with a bucket off Trae Young's 8th assist. Onyeka Okongwu's 21st point there. Spurs call timeout. Victor Wembanyama, he got a layup out of that timeout. 9-minute, 10-second mark. His 15-point, 83 to 67 Spurs. 8-minute, 36-second mark. Onyeka Okongwu, he gets his 7th rebound of the game. After I mentioned, he's making more hay in that rebounding battle versus Victor Wembanyama. As well, that was his 3rd offensive rebound on a putback layup. His 23rd point, 83 to 69 Spurs. Cutting the Spurs lead to 14 points. Trae Young, finger roll half minute later, off of DeAndre Hunter's 4th assist. 83-71 as DeAndre Hunter absolutely stepped in the stats tonight with a double-double. 22 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals. 3 turnovers. He did contribute to his turnover woes. But as a primary ball handler for Atlanta Hawks, with Jalen Johnson out, and of course Kobe Buffkin out, it's not too many. So, De'Aaron Fox, he answered on the other end with a jumper, his 22nd point, put the Spurs up 14 points, 85-71. Onyeka Okongwu at the 8-minute, 36-second mark, he had a hook shot there, which is a start of a 10-15. Nice little Hawks run there to cut 2 5-point deficit there, the 3-minute, 13-second mark after DeAndre Hunter 3-point shot off of Trae Young's 10th assist. Dyson Daniels, then 2-minute, 52-second mark, had a putback dunk off of DeAndre Hunter's steal and missed dunk on the other end. Dyson Daniels collected the offensive rebound off the block shot and missed offensive rebound there, putting the ball back in the basket, putting the Spurs lead to 3 points. Things were looking very, very nice there for Atlanta Hawks that time. Unfortunately, the Spurs would make a little bit of run there in the third quarter. Starting with Jeremy Sochan being fouled. He made 1 of 2, putting the Spurs back up by 4, 94-90. Vassell, he had a 3-point shot there at the 1-minute, 46-second mark off De'Aaron Fox, 10th assist, 97-90. All of a sudden, that 3-point deficit is now a 7-point deficit. Dyson Daniels, he answered on the other end with a slam off Onyeka Okongwu's 5th assist. Dyson's 18th point, 97-92 at that point. But here comes Jeremy Sochan on the other end, having a dunk, 99-92 at that point. 1-minute mark, Trae Young, he had his 9th and final turnover of the game. Led to Devin Vassell dunk, 101-92. DeAndre Hunter, he had the last, no, he didn't. He had a score at the 52nd mark, 101-94, Spurs up by 7. 8-second mark, Trae Young hit a 3, 101-97. But Victor Wembanyama, being the force he is, he had a tip in at the bucket, keeping the Spurs lead 6 points there in the third quarter. 103-97 Spurs. Fourth quarter started with a V. Krejci 3. The Hawks were feeling very good at that point again, as they were only down by 3, 103-100 there, around the 11-minute, 36-second mark. Nearly half a minute later, Devin Vassell, he absolutely posterized DeAndre Hunter under the basket. DeAndre Hunter, no contest. And I'd argue that's an even more embarrassing posterization when you're just standing there under the basket, not even trying to contest, and the guy's dunking on you. Well, DeAndre Hunter, he's a scoring first player. Don't want him to get hurt, especially with Jalen Johnson going down. So need him to play a little bit conservatively there as far as trying to be a rim protector. So they're at the 10-minute, 9-second mark. He subs in after getting a rest and gets a free throw off a defensive 3-second call on Julian Champagnie. It was a very odd call. I mean, this Champagnie, he did not have to do that. All he had to do was take one step out of that paint there, and there'd be no point. Neither here nor there as the Spurs get the dub. So Don Barlow, he hits a cutting dunk seconds later, putting the Spurs lead to 4 points, 107-103, after Trae Young's 12th assist of the game. That would be his final assist of the game. It was an 8-1. Don Barlow was fouled on, but he missed the free throw. Free throws were a little bit of a thing too. Today is the Hawks shot 72.2%. Some poor free throw shooting overall for the Hawks. 13 for 18. Of course, if you make one more of those free throws, assuming everything else in the game stays the same, we would have had some overtime. So, got to improve on that free throw shooting. Chris Paul, he fouled Larry Nance Jr. at the 8-minute, 17-second mark in the fourth quarter. DeAndre Fox, nearly half a minute later, got a layup off a Dyson turnover. 111 to 107. Spurs lead by 4. Trae Young, he got a jumper on the other end. 111, 109 Spurs. But Julian Champagnie, he had the answer with a bucket, 7-minute, 22-second mark, putting the Spurs up by 4, 113 to 109. Chris Paul, he then had what felt like an absolute dagger there at 6-minute, 13-second mark with a three-point shot, putting the Spurs up 116 to 109 over the Hawks. 7-point lead again. Felt almost like double digits, so 7-point lead. There late in the third quarter, and after that, the Hawks then called timeout. Onyeka Okongwu at the 5-minute, 32-second mark, he had a dunk. Final points of the game off of Dyson Daniels' assist, his 6th of the game. 116 to 115. But Wembanyama, Victor Wemby, he had the answer on the other end. 118 to 111 Spurs at the 5-minute, 6-second mark. Trae Young, he had a 3-point shot after De'Aaron Fox turnover. De'Aaron Fox's first and only turnover of the game, putting the Spurs lead to just 4 points that game. 118 to 114. The 4-minute, 36-second mark, the Spurs took timeout. And we're about to take a timeout here. Pausing for some station identification before we get this last bit. Hawks Spurs game. Then afterwards, we're going to update on all the current trade news of the NBA. This is the BOS Sports Podcast. So where were we? Trae Young, we covered that. Trae got his 3-point shot, 118 to 114 Spurs with 4-minute, 36 seconds left to go. In the fourth quarter, Stephon Castle at the 4-minute, 2-second mark, he got a layup off De'Aaron Fox's 12th assist, 120 to 114. Trae Young, he answered on the other end. Nice bucket for Trae Young. In the clutch again. 120 to 116 is Trae Young. He absolutely gave the Atlanta Hawks a chance to win this game. Chris Paul, he had another dagger there. As those 2 3-pointers by Chris Paul there in that fourth quarter were just absolute daggers. 3-minute, 4-second mark. It was his 11th point of the game off De'Aaron Fox's 13th and final assist of the game. Putting the Spurs up 123 to 116. Another 7-point lead. But here comes the Hawks and DeAndre Hunter with a jumper at the 123. At the 2-minute 27 mark. 123 to 118. Hawks down by 5 points at that point. DeAndre Hunter again with the bucket. A 3-point shot there at the 1-minute 49-second mark. Hawks only down by 2. 123 to 121 Spurs. And then it should have been Hawks ball. 1-minute, 13-second mark. Victor Wembanyama, he absolutely flopped. He was looking like one of those inflatable car salesmen there going, woo! And then all of a sudden, you see just Victor Wembanyama. He was hustling on that play. Absolutely hustling. And he took a minute there, a breather on the floor. Got a nice little rest. Looked like a flop there. But it counted as a loose ball foul. Spurs got the ball back. But it did not matter much as the Hawks, they got the stop again after that play. And resulted in Trae Young coming back on the other end, getting fouled. Nearly an and one. Oh, that 1 point extra would just been so sweet. Of course, in this 1 point loss of a margin. So he hit both those free throws. Of course, having a stellar day. 9 for 11 free throws for the day for Trae Young. And he hit 2 of those there at the 48.9 second mark. Tying the game, 123 to 123. Tying the game as the first time the Hawks tied or took the lead since the first quarter. As the Hawks had that 14 to 12 lead there early in that first quarter. Last time they led in the game. Trae Young, he tied it. And then 17.3 second mark. Hawks got the ball back after Spurs bucket. Hawks were back down 120 after Victor Wembanyama putback dunk at the 32-second mark. The Hawks were back down by 2 points as the Spurs were up 125-123. Hawks, they take it back down another end of the floor. Things look to be kind of disorganized there on offense, and resulted in the Hawks having to take a timeout there. 17.3-second mark. They inbounded the ball. Things look disorganized again, but Trae Young, he completely seemed to improvise there, and he got the drive, and he got a nice floater there in the lane and hit it there at the 8-second mark, around the 8-second mark to go there in the fourth quarter. Spurs come back, and here comes Victor Wembanyama, absolutely trying to get the bucket of the game, trying to slam and finish with authority over Onyeka Okongwu. Nice challenge, but not quite a clean block. As was determined, and the replay challenge, the play was challenged. Well, the Hawks, they lost their timeout due to that challenge and lost challenge. In retrospect, hindsight, it was a bad challenge, of course. The Hawks losing it. Maybe a little rethink in future games, being a little bit more reserved using that challenge in this kind of situation. So, certainly felt like with the motion from the crowd and the players on the court and everything, you want to challenge that play, but losing the timeout is key, as the Hawks would have gotten a clean look at the basket on the other end after being able to advance the ball, even with Victor Wembanyama missing that free throw, trying to take some time off the clock. Veteran savvy move by the sophomore Victor Wembanyama. So, aforementioned Victor Wembanyama, he went to the free throw line. He made the first free throw and then intentionally missed the second, which resulted in a scramble and scrappy and just terrible shot for Trae Young. Beyond half court, had no prayer, no hope. Air ball, game ends, 126-125 Spurs. So, let's refresh really quick and see if Shams Charania has any new news. It's been 25 minutes since posted about Jericho Sims, part of the trade going to the Bucks. Via the Knicks, a 3-team trade. There, interesting news. A multi-team deal there with the Kyle Kuzma and Chris Middleton deal. So, big news tonight, aforementioned, and here in the ticker, Jimmy Butler to the Golden State Warriors. This is very interesting. Andrew Wiggins is the giant piece going back. Dennis Schroeder, he's going to Utah Jazz. Another multi-team deal. We're still waiting to hear finalizations, as that was recently updated as well. Kyle Anderson was a potential piece going to the Toronto Raptors. He's no longer going there and staying in Miami. Thinking about potentially waiving him. We'll see what happens with that situation. Kyle Anderson was traded from the Warriors and was supposedly supposed to be flipped to the Raptors, but that has not happened yet. It said that he's staying in Miami. As well, the Miami Heat, they get a protected first-round draft pick. As part of the deal, Warriors' Lindy Water and Heat's Josh Richardson's are headed to Detroit Pistons. We got Pistons, Heat, Warriors, potentially the Raptors. I believe it was Shams or another beat writer, maybe that suggested that was a 5-team deal. We'll see how all those chips fall. That has not quite been finalized yet. All those pieces. So, earlier today, had a couple more notable trades. The Sacramento Kings, and this is huge for Atlanta Hawks, they added center Jonas Valanciunas from the Washington Wizards. He's a stalwart paint scorer. Force down there in the paint. Solid force there at center. Solid rebounding, solid defense. So he was traded to Sacramento from Washington for the Kings' newly acquired piece, City Cisco. which was, of course, a player in that Zach LaVine to De'Aaron Fox trade just from the other day. And we'll review that just in a second here. As well, a 2028 second-round pick from Denver and 2029 second-round pick are also headed to Washington. Daniel Theis, he was acquired by the Oklahoma City Thunder for New Orleans Pelicans. Back to this Kings deal just really quick. So Jonas Valanciunas, that's going to be a nice center option there to combine with Domantas Sabonis there in the paint. They'll have a nice rotation. I look for them to continue to have a nice end and finish the season, being a play-in team there and potentially up to the 9th, 8th, 7th seed there in the West. And I'm hopeful for them to finish outside the bottom 14 in records. Of course, the Hawks draft pick from them is selected between selections 1 to 12. So we need the Kings to finish with the 13th worst record or better for the Hawks to potentially have, to likely have a shot of retaining that draft pick. So Sidney Cisco, back to this Daniel Theis. Daniel Theis was traded from the Oklahoma City, he's traded from the Pelicans to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Notable for the Celtics runs, Daniel Theis is noted in the Celtics run there a couple years ago before they were finally able to get over the hump. He's a solid option there as a big man. We saw him there with the Clippers last year. He looked really nice with the Clippers. He had some injury problems. Was only able to play one game in the postseason for the Clippers last year. But he's a solid front court player. And with the questions around Chet Holmgren, I feel like that's a very solid move there to give him another option in case things with Chet Holmgren don't entirely work out for this season. He had a broken hip. That's going to be a very challenging injury for him to come back from and get conditioned and strengthened up for. He's already a very wiry player and needed some bulking up. So after this surgery, I believe he had surgery on the broken hip. It's going to be a tough recovery there for Chet Holmgren. And some questions there for Oklahoma City Thunder. I think they answered some with this. So they also traded a 2021 second-round draft pick and a pick swap, least favorable, Orlando's pick for cash. So the Boston Celtics as well, they unloaded Jaden Springer. I was potentially speculating they could use him and trade to upgrade. It looks like the Celtics, they sent him to the Rockets. The Rockets, they might re-sign him with bird rights. I believe he's eligible for it. The Celtics attached their 2023 second-round draft pick. And as well, a part of the deal, both teams are exchanging heavily protected second-round draft picks, creating another one of those just absolutely head-scratching pick swap word salads that we're going to read later whenever we read the Houston Rockets and Celtics upcoming draft picks. So the other huge trade of today was, of course, aforementioned early in this podcast, Kyle Kuzma for Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton, along with 2028 first-round draft pick, and Washington has the rights to swap that with Milwaukee for Kyle Kuzma, Patrick Baldwin Jr., and 2025 second-round draft pick. It was just announced about half an hour ago by Shams Charania that Knicks are as well involved in that deal. So, other trades this week. Blockbuster, which impacted tonight's game we just saw. De'Aaron Fox, we're expecting him to be traded along with Jimmy Butler. Those are two anticipated trades. Kyle Kuzma, I guess a little bit less on the radar than Jimmy Butler and De'Aaron Fox, who are both noted to be on the trade block and likely to be moved before the deadline. course, Luka Doncic was the news that absolutely stunned everybody around the league. So De'Aaron Fox, he's traded to San Antonio Spurs as part of a 3-team deal. Chicago Bulls, they traded Zach LaVine, perennial All-Star candidate, and a second-round pick to Sacramento. Sacramento, they traded Kevin Huerter to Chicago. Sacramento traded Jordan McLaughlin to San Antonio. Spurs traded Zach Collins, Trey Jones, and 2025 second-round draft pick to Chicago. Spurs also traded Sidney Cisco, a 2025 first-round draft pick, 2027 first-round draft pick, 2023 first-round draft pick, 2028 second-round draft pick, and 2028 second-round draft pick to Sacramento. Feels like the Kings got an absolute haul. Of course, the Spurs, they're loaded with draft picks. They still have the Hawks draft pick, which that might be looking like it's probably going to be a top 10 draft pick. Hopefully not. Hopefully the Hawks do something this trade deadline. We're rumored to be involved with Brandon Ingram of the Pelicans, potentially to be moved. Kevin Durant has been floated around in trade rumors. Brian Windhorst, he reported that Kevin Durant's preferred destination is Miami Heat. So he said that it would either be the Heat or nothing. I'm not sure if we see Andrew Wiggins traded to the Suns for Kevin Durant. I think that just does not make any sense for the Suns. I don't see any pieces with the Miami Heat that I'd want as the Suns for Kevin Durant, unless you're talking Bam Adebayo or Tyler Hero. We're probably untouchable there for the Miami Heat. I don't see Kevin Durant going to the Miami Heat. Is he traded elsewhere? And will that conflict Brian Windhorst's report there? We'll see. I think the Suns, they tried that Big Three experiment, and it's time for them to look at breaking it up. Even if Bradley Beal doesn't want to move, the Suns got to do something. Devin Booker, I feel like, is a generational talent. He should be the main piece they're building around. You just got to find the right pieces. Just as the Hawks found some right pieces along Trae Young. Jalen Johnson, Dyson Daniels, DeAndre Hunter. All great pieces with Trae Young in rotation for this Atlanta Hawks team. So aforementioned, the stunner in the league was the Luka Doncic, Anthony Davis trade. Trade to Los Angeles from Dallas as a 3-team trade. Dallas traded Maxi Kleber, Markieff Morris to the Los Angeles Lakers, along with Luka Doncic. Dallas traded 2025 second-round pick to Utah. Los Angeles traded Anthony Davis, Max Christie, their 2029 first-round draft pick to Dallas Mavericks. And the Lakers as well traded Jalen Hood Schifino and second-round pick to Utah Jazz. Utah Jazz traded $55,000 in cash to the Mavericks and $55,000 cash to the Lakers. One of the trades that kicked off this season was PJ Tucker to the Utah Jazz. The Clippers, they were without any draft picks for the rest of the decade. They get the Clippers 2023 second-round draft pick and some cash, as well as they also traded Mo Bamba, who was eventually waived. Drew Eubanks and Patty Mills were also involved in that. PJ Tucker, he had not played all season, and he was just flipped as well to the Miami Heat. So that'll be interesting. It was stated that PJ Tucker was reunited with the Miami Heat. So it might be a situation where you see PJ Tucker play some this season. That would be interesting to see as well with the Atlanta Hawks. They have a similar situation with Cody Zeller. He's not been with the team all season. So we'll see if he's traded or waived and picked up by another team and plays again 2023. That'd be very interesting to see. So for Atlanta Hawks, we got Clint Capella. We got Bogdan Bogdanovic on trading block. Potential suitors to look at a lot of teams, some teams have already done deals, including the Spurs, the Lakers. Lakers, they need a center. The Warriors, they need a center. The Suns, they could use a center as well if they're just trying to add and not unload Kevin Durant. It'd still potentially be a partner. As well, the Spurs, they traded away Zach Collins. They offloaded that salary. They're very glad about that, I'm sure. They could potentially use Clint Capella in a playoff run as well. They have a lot of draft capital. The Warriors, they have, I believe, all their first-round picks between now and the end of the decade. They have only 2 second-round pick sets for this year. So they don't quite have enough. I feel like they don't quite have enough second-round draft picks to make Clint Capella trade work. Maybe they would be willing to give up a later decade, 28, maybe first-round draft pick. That'll be after Jimmy Butler's new contract expires. Stephen Curry will be 38 or 39. Closer to retirement there, so might unload another draft pick. And make a lot of sense there for Warriors. Unload a late decade first-round draft pick for Clint Capella. Have to check out how that looks salary-wise. So tomorrow, be doing a monster BOS Sports trade deadline episode. Try to get up by 5 p.m. after the deadline. Hopefully we'll know how all the chips fall. Refresh here really quick one more time. Shams Charania. Hopefully he has some good news here for us Atlanta Hawks fan after such a devastating couple weeks. No new news yet. It's currently 11:15 p.m. Eastern time, so we can conclude this podcast episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. BOS Sports Podcast, episode 46. Be sure to stream previous episodes of the BOS Sports Podcast. Stream Bar of Silk music on Spotify. Released a new track last day or two. And we'll see you tomorrow afternoon after the NBA trade deadline. Yeah, it concludes for 2025 there at 3 p.m. Take care, everybody.